Rain hammered violently against the windows, wind howling like a warning to anyone foolish enough to be outside. On a quiet suburban street where loneliness lived behind closed curtains, a single father named Rowan stood staring at the storm swallowing the world. He had no idea that the knock on his door that night would change everything. The knock of a soaked, shivering woman who carried more secrets than the rain clouds above, a woman who would change his life and his heart forever. If you believe in kindness, fate, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heartbeat Tales. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Rowan lived a simple life. Every morning began with the same routine: milk warming on the stove, a 5-year-old daughter named Anya sleepily rubbing her eyes, and the dull ache of memories he never truly escaped. His late wife had passed during childbirth, leaving him with love and loss tangled into one fragile responsibility. He worked 2 jobs, slept little, and dreamed even less. Happiness existed, but only in small pieces, like sunlight sneaking through curtain gaps. He loved his daughter fiercely, yet the weight of raising her alone sat heavy in his chest, day after day. On the night everything changed, Rowan had just closed the windows tight, shielding the kitchen from the storm's roar, but even the wind couldn't drown out the desperate knocking. When he opened the door, lightning flashed behind a woman with rain-drenched golden hair plastered to her cheeks, her white dress clinging to her shivering frame. She looked lost, yet impossibly composed, like someone used to solving problems but now swallowed by one she couldn't control. She only managed to whisper one trembling sentence: she needed shelter. Rowan brought her inside without hesitation. She sat near the window, fingers wrapped around the warm mug he offered, her eyes distant as if staring beyond the storm into another world. Her name was Mara. She didn't explain where she came from or why she was alone in a storm so fierce, and Rowan didn't push. Something about her presence felt delicate, wounded but strong, an unfamiliar mix that stirred something long buried inside him. As morning arrived, the storm faded into soft daylight. Anya's laughter filled the kitchen while Mara watched with quiet tenderness, as though she hadn't heard such innocence in years. She offered to cook breakfast, though it was clear she wasn't used to kitchens. Rowan smiled for the first time in weeks, guiding her through the simple steps of frying eggs. Flour dusted her hands, sunlight warmed her face, and Rowan found himself memorizing the moment without meaning to. It felt like life was blinking awake again. Days passed. Though she planned to leave as soon as the weather cleared, Mara didn't. Instead, she stayed, helping where she could, reading bedtime stories to Anya, organizing cupboards, fixing Rowan's broken heater by simply making phone calls he could never afford to make. She was gentle, thoughtful, almost unreal, but something always lingered behind her eyes, a world she kept hidden. Rowan would catch her staring at her phone late at night, shoulders tense, her expression heavy. She wasn't just lost, she was running. The truth only came weeks later, when the storm outside became nothing compared to the one that finally broke inside her. One morning, Rowan found her seated by the window, coffee in hand, eyes wet with unshed tears. The skyline behind her was golden, buildings glowing like newly polished hope. She took a breath and confessed everything. Mara was not simply a woman passing through. She was the CEO of a tech corporation worth millions, exhausted by power, surrounded by people who only loved what she owned, not who she was. She had driven away alone before a major deal, needing space to remember she was human, not a machine built from expectations. Rowan didn't speak. He simply listened, and that was all she had ever needed. She began helping him in ways she never revealed. After discreet calls and silent arrangements, Rowan received new work contracts, steady income, and a remodeled home, though he didn't know she was behind any of it. She believed kindness was quiet, not loud. But love makes itself known even in silence. One warm afternoon, while Anya napped, Rowan found Mara gazing out the kitchen window, wearing a soft white dress that mirrored the calm sky, the same place where she had stood the day she arrived. He walked closer, heart unsteady. She turned with a smile that held gratitude, fear, and hope all at once. In that quiet moment, without grand gestures or perfect words, he reached out and took her hand. For the first time in years, love felt possible, like a second spring after a long winter. Mara didn't leave. Instead, she built a life where meetings could wait, heartbeats mattered more than money, and breakfast in a small kitchen meant more than any boardroom in the world. Rowan and Anya gave her something she couldn't buy: family, belonging, peace, and she gave them something they didn't know they needed: light. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Heartbeat Tales. Your support brings more love-filled stories to life. Before we end, comment down below what you would have done if a stranger knocked at your door in a storm. And remember, sometimes the greatest storms bring the most unexpected love.